Hey, it's BT with Tales from a Gemini. My guest is a return. It's Casie Shepherd, the 6'2" blonde bombshell from Minnesota, the trainer and just a life coach pretty much. And we talk about how the changes in her life since the first podcast and how she's in a relationship and how that has affected her and her business life and her life and what she has going on in businesses. This is a really introspective conversation, and I love it. I just love talking to this person because she's so inspirational. She makes me want to get off my ass and start working out. So I hope you like this conversation with Casie Shepherd, and tell me how you guys like it. Thank you so much. Oh, my favorite part. Why? It never gets old. Why?
Feels like the first time.
I know. It's always like the first time, though. That's why I love my show. 1, 2, 3. Hey, it's BT with Tales from a Gemini. And let me tell you something. The first time I had this guest on, I was blown away by her Instagram profile and looked her up. I was like, oh my gosh. And she definitely delivered the goods. And I continued to stalk her because that's what creepers do. And then she agreed to come on again, which I'm like, oh, thank you. And we're going to make it happen again because there's so many changes that have happened in her life. She don't talk about it. She's all about it. She just got back from vacation. She went to her motherland. We're going to talk about that and what else is going on in her life. So we're going to run it back, as the kids say, to one of my favorite guests, the 6'2" bombshell from Minnesota, Miss Casie Shepherd. How you doing, Casie?
Oh, I'm so good.
That's
Thanks
great.
for having me again.
You know what? It's my pleasure to have you on again. I mean, when beautiful women say, "Can I come on again?" I go, "Duh." I mean, seriously, duh. I hope you come to Indianapolis sometime and have you in the studio so people can see you up close in person. Just what kind of person you are up close in person, because I don't think the pictures do you justice. You know what I mean?
Well, would you know?
You know what? That's a good question. That is. I've never seen you up close in person, unless I've actually stalked you, like I said. But I haven't.
I might, and you might be like, "Oh, damn."
No.
Nope.
It'd be a good damn, like, oh damn, and you'd be like, oh damn. I mean, it'd be two different oh damns. You're like, oh damn, and I'd be like, oh damn. But anyway, you're back from vacation. You went to your motherland. You are Nordic or Norwegian, and you went to Iceland and Norway, right?
Yep. We did a little stopover in Iceland on the way to Norway, and I'm definitely Scandinavian. I actually did like a heritage DNA test right when I got back because I don't know the splits, but then it got me even like wanting to know even more. I've got some German, Scandinavian, and then I'm a mix of everything else. So yeah, we got to see all the Nordic vibes, and I guess I didn't stand out as much over there, which was interesting.
Well, no offense, but yeah, you look all the way Norwegian. I mean, all the way. Like, there's no way denying your heritage. I mean, a little bit maybe German, but I mean, if you see, you go, yeah, she's Norwegian. I mean, Norwegian, Scandinavian. I mean, there's no denying it. You know how sometimes like Africa has their carbon footprint everywhere? Only if you go to Norway, you go, nah, I don't think so. Not really here. I mean, that's all the way Norwegian, and you are. But Norway's a great country, actually. I mean, they've won more Olympic gold medals and more Olympic medals in the Winter Olympics than any other country. They're smart. They have one of the highest longevity rates for living. I think that they average 82 years old for living. So you have great genes in you.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to, I mean, it's my first time that I was in Europe, so it's just interesting to see different way of living, different way of life. They're definitely more like, I would say, socialist than we are here in the US. And I mean, you can drink straight out of I don't know how people feel about tap water. I don't drink tap water just because of the minerals, but it's like over there, you can fill up in the bathroom sink and the water tastes absolutely pure. You get done with the shower and there's zero mineral residue. Like everything is just purely clean there. You know, the way that they live, their lifestyle, it's just interesting. So you can kind of see why that is, you know, why they're just a healthier country. The people are taken care of a little bit differently. And, you know, they have different freedoms there than we do, but like you don't tip over there because everyone's like on a salary, even the bartenders and stuff. So it's just interesting.
Wow. I know they only have countries to the east of them, but not to the west. Like they're to the west, they have the ocean. All right. And so that's why they're big in the oil. But on the east, they only have I think Sweden and Finland, right?
Yep. Right borders of Sweden. And then, Finland's right on the other side of there. And then you go south and it's like Ireland, Scotland, you know. So Yeah, I mean, that's why we did the little stop. I mean, they have like a thing with Iceland where you just can do a little stopover, and we had to kind of transfer through Iceland anyway. So we're like, let's stop here for like 2 days on our way over. And then we hit 3 different cities in Norway. So we were like on a flight every other day, which was cool. It was, every city had something different. So I feel like we got the whole like Nordic experience, and stayed with some of one of my really good friends, Sonia. She's like 4th generation, 100% Norwegian American. So she had some family up in Trondheim we stayed with for a few days and got to do like the authentic foods, and they cooked for us, and we got to stay in one of the fjords, and, you know, it was very like, cool. Let's just see what like the culture's like here, what people, you know, live like. And just
what's a fjord? What's a fjord?
Fjords are like those channels that go through, like, you know, because everything's on the coast. Like you said, the ocean just borders right on the country of Norway.
Right.
The fjords are like the channels that come in through the ocean through these huge mountain peaks. And like in Norway, a lot of people are just like, everyone's from like a different fjord. Like if you're 100% Norwegian. So like families grow up in these little towns that are in these little like fjord nooks. So when you look up the fjords of Norway, they're just these gorgeous like towns up the sides of these giant mountain peaks. And so you go through these little channels, and that's kind of how they bring in shipments through the ocean and into these little channels. So I guess it's like the easiest way I can explain it. I'm probably butchering part of it, but we did go on a fjord tour when we were in Bergen, which is like the city that's southwest, like right on the kind of the ocean side there in Norway. That was like the first stop we went. So we kind of stayed right in the marina there, fresh seafood every day. And then we went on like a little fjord tour one afternoon, which was awesome. Like these giant waterfalls coming down. I like posted a waterfall video with it. Like
I saw that. I remember seeing that, man. You know, but the Norse, you know, they actually, there came a time they kind of ruled. They went over. They even invaded Russia back in the day. I mean, they're legendary for being. Did you see the movie Norseman?
You know, I didn't see it, but I saw some stuff come up, and I learned on my trip like how like the Vikings were. Like some of them were like not good people. They like enslaved and like stole and raped people and women, and you know there was some stuff that happened, I think, on their way over there. But it was definitely an interesting like learning experience. Which is like the more I learned, the more I was like, God, I got to see if I have that in me somewhere.
Well, you know, I mean, if you think about it, back in the day with history, everybody's done something bad to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah,
find me a country who's got a clean slate, and I'll show you a country that doesn't exist. I mean, that's basically how it is. I mean, there's shitty people in everything. Yeah. You know,
but I mean, Iceland was like that was an awesome experience. I definitely needed more time there too, just to see some of the different stuff there and how they lived there. Evidently with Iceland, and I mean, they named it Iceland so they could hide there, and people would think that it wasn't safe to go there. Like you just learn random facts about things when you're traveling where you're like, I never really thought about that. You know,
you went to the Blue Lagoon. I mean, to the point when I saw that, I literally thought it was one of those accounts I follow that, you know, I know I'll never talk to the girl, because I was like, who is this? And it was actually you, and you were going to that seriously, you were going to, I guess, at a hotel or whatever, and you opened the window and went out to the Blue Lagoon. How was that? And did you pee in the water?
Oh, I did not pee in the water. I feel like that's gross.
Well, you never know. I mean, you know, you're a Viking. You got that Viking.
It was cool. It's kind of one of those things where like the more I was researching about whatever, like that's kind of like the main attraction that everyone goes to. So it's very touristy, but at the same time you're like, okay, this is pretty awesome. Like I need to go. So that reel got so many views too. Like so a ton of people saw that once I made it, but it was cool. Like the water literally is that blue. And it's natural. I mean, they put it in it is like a handmade pool, but the water that's pumped in comes from like the pure waters of like Iceland. Like you can smell the sulfur and stuff in the minerals, and you can see the minerals on all like the sides of the pool and the rocks and stuff. So it's pure. Like there's no chemicals or like anything in it.
Was it like a life-changing trip? I mean, as far as like seeing how, like I said, it's the first time to Europe. I mean, that to me, your first time to Europe, you're like, wow. I mean, it's always at least for me, it was eye-opening. Like, see how other people live and go, I wonder if I could live like this. I mean, how was it for you?
I mean, I kind of was like, oh, I wonder if I don't know. There's some part of like knowing like this is where I have some extended like roots from. And one of my closest friends, Sonia too, she's like, God, I wonder if we'll like go there and be like, God, this is where I belong, Right. But we got there and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is cool. Just taking it in. And I left being like, hey, I'm really glad we did that. That was an amazing experience. But I think because in Europe, everyone speaks English too, for the most part. Yeah. So it's like, you realize you're in another country and you're seeing all these amazing things, but it's like, I took a flight for one day over there and we're here now. And there's like the part of my brain that doesn't like compute that I'm in like a whole nother country sometimes. So I don't know if it would be like, I'd have to be somewhere I'm completely immersed with people who don't speak my language, who look completely different like than I do, or what it was. But it was a different trip because I'm such a like, I want to be on the beach. I want to go like hop around to restaurants and bars and do all these things. But like we went on this trip being like, we just want to see and experience as much as possible, which is why we were just like, go. Let's go to all these cities. Let's hike. Let's go to like see all these. I mean, when we were in Iceland, we saw the geysers, we saw the waterfalls, we saw state parks, we saw the Blue Lagoon, the natural springs. It was, I worked Tim's the whole time in a raincoat for most of the trip because it was just like that gloomy, rainy, whatever, but we like loved it. And that was just like what we knew that we were getting into. So I don't know. I feel kind of like, I don't know how to feel about it even. I loved it. It was amazing. And now I want to see other things and just compare and kind of experience it all.
Well, you always talked about, and even on your some of your posts on Instagram, whatever, you talked about sometimes it's good to be uncomfortable because that will ignite growth in you. So did you experience that in your own, like had to eat your words or like, okay, this is what I say, now I have to practice what I preach? Because when I go over there, whenever I go to Europe, it used to be, I swear, I would get the rental car and then I would get lost for about an hour and I'd be like, why the hell am I even over here? And once I found my my hotel and everything, I was like, okay, I'm good. But it's always like that first hour that you're over there, you're uncomfortable. But then once you get settled in, it's good. Did you find that way also, that where you were uncomfortable, but you were like, okay. And then once you got your bearings about you, you go, okay.
I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. And I mean, one of the big reasons is we hired a travel agent for our trip. So everything was like planned out, but we were going through so many cities and, we didn't know what time we needed to be here to connect to here, to take this train to this place and whatever. And so I think that, because I can be a little type A. So I think that helped me to just be able to relax and enjoy the trip and not have to we had a few little hiccups throughout, which, always happens, but I could relax and kind of enjoy it and then just allow everything to happen and kind of take it in. But when I was in my 20s, I thought people were crazy who wanted to spend all their money traveling. It didn't make any sense to me. I was like, why would you spend like this much money on a trip when you could just buy this instead? Like I didn't understand it. And maybe it comes with, being more successful in business and actually having the money to be able to go do that and travel and do that sort of thing. But it doesn't ignite. I think it triggers things unknowingly. Like I think it can trigger a certain energy or a certain feeling. And for whatever reason, business blows up every time I travel. I think it's just I speak a lot about law of attraction and stuff. So I think there's this feeling of like stepping away from the day to day and just allowing your like energy to flow and putting it out to the universe and being like, I'm open for what's coming or what, comes in, and just getting away and experiencing. You appreciate things in a different way when you see how other people live, or you compare your life to what they have there and see, this is amazing and love this, but I could see why, people like to be in America, or people, there's pros and cons to everything. So it just makes you step back and understand things from a new level. And I've never been like a history buff, but like learning some of these things, I was like, wow, like there's so much more to this world than, people live in their little holes on the day to day. Just getting out and experiencing that puts life into perspective in a way that you don't get to do on like a daily basis.
Well, with age should come perspective. And there's nothing wrong with that. I wish sometimes people wouldn't, like, I'm very careful to criticize somebody younger than me because I was once there. I know how I used to think all the time. And now it's like, I've been like traveling, internationally for like, I don't know, the last 10 years maybe. And that's my favorite thing to do. And now I understand, like, I wish I would have done that younger, but I don't know if I would have had the same perspective. You know what I mean? And it's like I see how people live. And sometimes I'm like, I wouldn't mind living here just to see how long I could do it, or to see if I could, acclimate myself to that. Now, did you go work out while you were over there?
We did not work out at all.
Oh, you got lazy?
No, I think it's the longest I've ever not worked out, honestly, because I think even for like 2 days after I got back, I was like, no, but I was so sore like the entire time. I think it was like maybe 9 or 10 days I didn't work out, but you're in Europe, you're just walking so much.
Yes.
And we're hiking and walking on these, we had like an 8-hour excursion in Iceland one day. We were walking around all these national parks and up the stairs and up the sides of the mountains. And, you go to do, one little thing and you think it's going to be this quick little walk. And then suddenly you're hiking down for like an hour. So, I think the food there is super healthy. Like I love seafood and you're right on the coast. So it was like fresh seafood. Like, I think that's one of the things with traveling that always kind of stressed me out was like being able to stay away from certain things that I don't eat or I can't eat with allergies and whatever. But we did our research going, they are big coffee fanatics there. So I was like very excited about that. Cause like even like the gas stations have like the most fancy espresso machines you've ever seen. Like or like a 7-Eleven, it's like some digital espresso machine with coffees that I've never even heard of in my life that you can specialty make on your own. And so, the downfall is that we were to have a little too much caffeine just to like keep ourselves going. So I crashed after I got back. I don't even think it was like lack of sleep, but yeah, we were walking so much. You're kind of eating less just because you're on the go all the time. And then when you do eat, it's like, for me, I was just like, I don't eat bad. So it was like fresh seafood and whatever. So, I wasn't worried about not working out. I was getting a ton of exercise. I think it was kind of good for my system. Just have like a little break anyway, a step away. So.
And speaking of that, how do you go from like not getting burned out? I know you're a coach now, but you're always working out and you've been working out probably your whole life, being an athlete, a star athlete like you were. And so it's like, because now I'm at the stage of my life now where honestly, if it's a day above 30 degrees, I'm on my bicycle, I'm cycling. That's what I love doing. Like now, I hardly ever hit the gym unless I'm going to work a cruise now. So how do you avoid burnout and say to somebody like, who's at the gym, who's been working out their whole life? And I see it at the gym all the time, the guy that comes in and he gets on the bench press and then he goes and gets on the shoulders and he does. Like, how do you avoid burnout now at your stage? And what would you say to somebody who's maybe experiencing it, like they get that kind of like, you can see they're drudging their way through a workout. Like, how are you fighting your way through that? Or do you have that?
Well, I think the most important thing is to tell people that burnout happens to everybody. And the feeling unmotivated or being exhausted is just a very normal thing. Like, I think you get used to feeling so good that we think that it's always going to be that way. And it's not. Especially like spring and fall for me, when allergies are kicking in and whatever, my system has like a hard time. So I think it's just knowing like, it's okay that I don't go like 100% in every workout and kill myself. I'm not somebody who trains to the highest level at this point in my life because I know that I have a sensitive system and I know that that's always like a very delicate balance for me. So I do have weeks or, periods of time where I am less motivated. I'm not as strong. Things hurt in my system, my joints, muscles. Like I don't recover as quickly. And you just learn like, hey, this is just a part of, the process of, you're not always going to feel good. You're not always going to be motivated. Like you're not always going to know why, but especially for the people who are killing themselves all the time. Your nutrition plays a huge role in that. How hard you're pushing yourself in the gym. We're not like Superman. We can't tolerate the stress on our bodies 24/7 because working out, the neural fatigue from just pushing yourself all the time, all those things play such a huge role in how you can recover, your strength levels being up there.
Are you incorporating new techniques though? Because I see you all the time and you're working with weights still and, relatively heavy. And I'm at the stage now where the biggest thing that's helped me out now is bands. I love working with bands and that's a different kind of workout. I get the flexibility along with, everything else. So are you incorporating new techniques or are you constantly learning about, hey, maybe I try this and it's going to be new, or maybe today is going to be all cardio with a little bit of weights?
Yeah, I only lift 3 days a week. I do one upper body day, one lower body day. And then like usually my Saturdays are kind of like a touch-up day for like a full body. I know most people think that I lift heavy at this point, but for me, it's very moderate compared to what I used to do. I don't do any compound movements like back squats or barbell, like bench press. And I mean, a lot of it is just injury prevention and you learn better, more efficient ways to do things and still get the most out of your workouts instead of having to kill yourself and thinking that those are the only optimal ways to do things, So yeah, some of it's like, I follow some great pages and educational stuff and I'm always learning about that. But a lot of it's just like working around like old injuries or the way my body feels sometimes. And like knowing like, how can I hit this still without having to like get under all of this weight? Cause that's really what starts to throw your system out of whack. So I wouldn't say that it's anything special. I stick to the stuff that I know works. That's the most efficient. I don't do any of these like crazy like booty girl workouts that are out there now upside down on the machine, or you know what I mean? It's like there are certain things that work and that's what I stick to. It's the way that I write my clients' programs. It's what feels good to me, getting the most out of, doing the least almost. So
well, when we talk about that, and we also talk about what you guys have to go through as far as that, everybody wants that quick fix, with the imbalance and like the time it takes to transform your body. Now, how do you deal with that when somebody, because we're dealing with society now where everybody wants things done now. Like, maybe 2 weeks, how come I'm not noticing anything? How come this isn't working? And like, how do you deal with that if a client says that? Like you go, hey, it's about time. You got to be like, it's going to happen. Yeah. How do you get them to stay the course? Because, you have to, otherwise people get discouraged, especially now. I mean, we live in a now society with the cell phones. Like, hey, man, I text you 30 minutes ago. Why didn't you get back? Well, I'm living a life. I've got to do this and that. So how are you dealing with that?
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to education. We're not educated on the really like deeper rooted things that are in our bodies, like hormones or genetics or like the fact that if you're fat your entire life, like your body's just not going to respond the same as someone else, so you may, get this little bout of motivation and want to hire a coach to do this, but that doesn't mean that your body's going to respond to it the second you start eating healthy. And people think, I've been eating like crap and now I'm eating healthy. Like, why isn't this happening? And it's like your insulin sensitivity, your hormones are messed up. Your body's been in fat storing mode your entire life or for X amount of years, or whatever the case is. And so there is just so many things that can happen, that people don't realize are causing issues. So for me, it's educating the client and like trying to motivate them at the same time as being like, hey, there is no other option at this point. Like you either A, put in the time, or B, it's never going to happen for you. And I'm not claiming that I know everything or exactly what someone's system's going on, but like, unless you give this 100% shot and do this for long enough, will you even know if this is remotely, what's going to get you there? So I think for me, it's individually coaching people on a certain level, but then the hormone side that I preach is let's take a deeper dive, see what's going on. And then based on how you're responding and all these things, just trying to help people understand why, whether they want to believe it or they want to do their own research or put the pieces together, that's on them. But, I made the post the other day, like, you're never going to figure out what's going on with your body from one person or one Instagram post or one thing. I mean, I think the part for me when I was like going through a lot of my healing stuff in my 20s was like, I would learn something and I would, find some amazing, research on something. And I would think, wow, this is like the end all be all. This has been my problem this whole time.
Right.
Well, you quickly realize that's not it, but it might be a slight piece to the puzzle. So there are so many of these pieces that float around that it's really about being able to put them all together and consistency over everything. Most people aren't willing to be consistent for long enough to allow their system to sort of just like pick back up and learn a new norm. Our bodies are smart. They want to be in this balanced homeostasis. They will always go back to like a certain threshold, but you have to be at a certain place for long enough so that, your body can pick up on that and do what you're trying to get it to do.
Have you ever I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, with hormones and stuff, I mean, we have receptors, we have, different, there's something called, it's like saliva testing and stuff for hormones where you can kind of take like a deeper dive. So you see like metabolic pathways that hormones go down and which receptors are active. And there's just so many different ways that the body can react. It can just be hard. So like I was getting at, the main thing is just trying to educate people to the best that I can and explain to them, but trying to kind of for me personally, when I work with clients, is filter out the people ahead of time that might just not be a good fit. Like if you're coming to me right off the bat asking me how long this is going to take for you to fix this issue, I'm already going to say like, this might not be a good fit because I can't tell you that, you know?
Well, how many, like, have you ever had a client who's just a whiner? Like, oh, this hurts. I don't want to do that. I mean, there's got to be one.
The more imbalanced someone's body is, the more issues they have, like the more mentally it's affected them, you know? And I get it. Cause I was crazy for a long time when I was trying to figure out my own stuff, because you're so ultra sensitive. Your body's so sensitive that you could react to this one day and not the next. And you overanalyze and you overguess, and it kind of it does make you crazy. And then you're investing so much time and emotion into it that you do get scared the second something happens, you know, or you feel like it's not making progress. But like I preach, mind, body, spirit, it's the mental side, you know, and there's such an emotional aspect to a lot of this stuff too, where I do believe that a lot of like disease and imbalances are rooted in emotional trauma or emotional, you know, past. So yes. I think that's why I always try to preach with this sort of coaching, the physical, you start to see some of the emotional stuff like coming out through that. And that's why a lot of people can't stick to it, is the emotional is coming up as they're working through the physical, or vice versa, where they're triggered by something physically that's triggering an emotion, and they will binge on their diet, or they can't stick with it, or they sabotage themselves. But it's like, they're not realizing that there's emotional stuff here that you've not dealt with. And that's why your body is physically creating these issues, or you're getting cravings, or, you know, you're an emotional eater. People like to call, like, you know, all of that is other issues. It has nothing. I mean, that's the problem. So
you're like a psychiatrist and like a trainer and everything combined, basically. Like, I mean, honest. Well, I mean, it really is, because if somebody has like, say, some emotional problems come in, like, all right, I want you to get me well, I want to lose this weight, but they're dealing with something else, you go, oh boy, what do you ask them about that? Like, okay, like do you have like a, hey, how was your childhood? How did you eat during your childhood? Like, hey, how are you eating now? When do you eat? Why do you eat? Sometimes, because sometimes with me, sometimes I just feel like I gotta have something in my mouth. Like I want, like on the way here, I was like, do I have enough time to stop and get me some Beyond Meat jerky? You know, that's a new thing I have, is that, you know, plant-based jerky. Do I have enough time to go do that? Like, I feel like I gotta have something at all times, either in my mouth or just a little bit of something, even if I'm not hungry. Like, what does that point to if I was your client and I said that?
I mean, some of it's just habitual. You know what I mean? Like,
how do you break that cycle?
I mean, it depends. Like for you, I mean, we talked about this before with you, I remember, but it's like, are you eating enough? Because I mean, cravings for most people, like craving, yes, it could be, you know, just a mental thing, but a lot of it's rooted in other things in the body. Like, are you getting enough protein? Like, is your blood sugar elevated? Are you like, is your stress high where you have like that anxious, like need, you know, there's a lot of things that it could be. And so it's hard to know until you work with someone on an individual basis. Like, how is your lifestyle? How much sleep are you getting? What are these other things? Or do you just, I mean, for some people, I'm like, discipline doesn't just come, it needs to be practiced, right? So yeah, I want to eat chocolate every single day, but I don't. Why don't I? Because I exercise the discipline for long enough to realize like I don't need it and I can live without it, you know? So
what if somebody's coming to you from a non-disciplined background though? Like, cause I mean, honestly, yeah, there's people, you know, like us who have a discipline and you have maybe a or whatever, and they come to you for that, but they're not coming from a disciplined background, and you're trying to get them, because I think change is the hardest thing in the world, especially the beginning, and to stay on that track to make change a habit. You know what I mean? To where it's by rote. I mean, growing up, you know, being an athlete, if I don't know about you, but it's like, okay, you know, you work out, eat, blah, 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 whatever. But always that day, you're going to get that workout in. And then, and that to me has become a habit for the last 40, 50 years, how old I am. I mean, before I just work out, I mean, that's just part of who I am. When I wake up, smoothie, boom, workout. So how do you get somebody coming from an undisciplined background to incorporate that change and to make that change a habit?
I mean, it comes down to, do you want it enough? Are you sick of where you're at enough to want to do it? I mean, not everyone's amazing with finances or paying their bills, but you have to do it, right? You're forced to do it, because why? Otherwise you're going to, you know, go to jail, or your credit's going to be shot or whatever. So I don't care if you're bad at managing your money or not, but you figure out a way to do it or a way that it works for you to figure it out. I mean, everyone does their finances in a different way, right? So it's about figuring out what works for you and the best way to do it. You have to figure that out. You don't have a choice because it's a part of your life. Well, nutrition and whatever, you have that choice every day to do certain things. Well, you might not be good at it. You might not, whatever, but you have to explore, how does my personality work? What's the best way for me to do that? And do I want to do it enough? But people don't look at it as like a necessity, like they do like money or other priorities in their life with bills. Like some people have to live on a very strict budget for their lives because they only have a certain amount of money coming in. Right. Well, you do that because it's enough of a priority in your life, because if not, you're not gonna be able to eat at the end of the day. So with nutrition and working out and all that stuff, it's about making it enough of a priority in your life to decide that. It's the mindset and the way that you think about it. Because there's something for everyone that doesn't come very easy, and that's really hard. Like everyone has something they struggle a lot with.
What do you struggle with? What do you struggle with? What are your struggles?
I've overcome a lot of them. I did have a lot of hard time in my 20s with like organization, with finances and some of that stuff. And I had to learn the hard way how to like manage my money in the proper way and how to, stay disciplined with that. I did have, I had a lot of neuroticism around like food in the opposite way that most people were.
In what way? Like in what way?
I had OCD and anxiety and all that stuff. So for me, there was a lot of like control around it in a different way, because it was the only thing that could make me stay sort of disciplined. Because when I first got into shows and stuff, I learned the structure or whatever. When that was gone, my whole world like blew up after my first show. So I went through a period of like really bad, like binge eating after my first show, because it was like a lack of control. I didn't know how. And so I have people that come to me and they have this like feeling of perfection. And if they're not perfect, they don't know how to keep their shit together, which I was there. I did it. I do think there was some hormonal stuff that was way off the wagon, but a lot of it is just practicing. I never gave it up. I just over time learned to have a better balance with it. It never came super easy to me, but you have to figure it out and learn from other people that have been through it, or,
Now, what are you struggling with? What are you struggling with now? Now that you got that part out, what are you,
squirrel.
A what?
So I call myself a squirrel. Like I'm a huge squirrel. So, sometimes just staying on point with getting things done at a certain time, or, time management can be tough for me sometimes. So I have lists like everywhere. I have reminders in my phone. I have to turn off my phone at certain times of the day because I'm legitimately ADD and my mind goes like 1,000 miles a minute. So
I know. And that's why honestly, I was so glad that you agreed to this, because I can tell how busy you are, and you always ask the questions in a DM like, okay, blah, 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 blah. And I go, okay, yeah. You go, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And I go, man, she's busy. And I can just tell. So now that you're busy, and I know why you're busy, because you are in a relationship now.
I am, yes.
And look at that smile. I love the smile. You're like, okay. So when I saw this, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh man, like my heart sank, but I was like, I was so happy because you're happy. But I was like, oh man. And then I was like, okay. And then I saw that he's 285 pounds of pure muscle. And I go, okay, he's got one thing over me. He's 285. I mean, I'm still like that. I'm still like GQ.
You say 25?
No, I said, no, he's 285. He's 285.
Oh, okay. I thought you
he's
said
285 of pure muscle. Right. And I'm like, whatever of like, it's kind of squishy a little bit here and there, but like my stomach is it's like a traffic jam. It's a mess. Other than that, I'm okay. I'm okay. I mean, I'm not like him. I know you guys, and you're at that stage, honestly, where I look at it and go, oh God, they're like disgustingly happy where you guys videotape each other working out and you're in each other's selfies. And I'm like, Jesus. But I'm so happy for you. And it's weird because the little thing, I try to notice the little things, but like, I think he said something like, he was like, okay, I know she's got to do this, so I'm going to let her go ahead and do this, and I'm going to stay out of her way because she's got to do this. So now that you're in a relationship now, and I'm not going to go too far deep into it because I know how that goes, but like, how do you like get the time now to like devote to him, but also do your business and still like maintain that symbiosis?
It's a hard balance. He also calls me a squirrel too, because I've used that term like since day one with him. And so like, I'll be on the phone and I'll be like trying to email and do whatever. And he's like, all right, I want to let you go because you're like squirreling out right now. So it's now like a way that we describe certain personality traits with me is like squirreling out. So, I mean, it's a hard balance. I mean, it's a new world for me. I've been single for 9 years until I've been this
9
time. Yeah.
No.
I mean, I've dated like very, for brief periods of time through there, but no significant anything in that period of time. So
why this guy? Why this guy and why now? Because 9 years is like, I was going to ask you, were you locked up? I mean, honestly, 9 years is a long time. I mean, I've been that way too, basically, but what's your story? Like, why was it 9 years? Now, are you hard to deal with? Or are you like, I can't deal with just frivolous. Somebody's got to be on the mentally and physically with me. And obviously he is physically, obviously, because that dude is,
yeah. Just to be straight up with him, like he did his first show last December and now was competing at nationals at the end of the year. Like I didn't want to date someone that competed because I've been there, done that. I'm in this place where I'm balanced and I want to just go out and have fun and do all these things. So like when we first started talking and I found out he did shows, I immediately was like, I'm 50% out right now. Like I'm not like interested really. And, we went on a couple dates and I mean, it went really well, but there was this part of me in the beginning that was just like, I just don't know, like if I can make this work. Like, I don't know if this is what I want, I never needed to date someone who was that big. It's just like how it ended up working out. I've dated all different kinds of guys. And so it just ended up hitting off with him. But I think they say like, just can be unexpected and some of it's timing. And after my last relationship, I probably took like 3 or 4 years. I just didn't even care to date. I was competing on the pro circuit. I was like, just blind to anything that was around me. I just really didn't care about anyone else or anything. I was building my business. For a long time. So it was maybe like the last 4 or 5 years that I really been like dating and like, I think when you learn yourself on a deeper level with how spiritual and analytical and really getting to understand yourself and doing some of the shadow work and understanding your traumas, like what your goals are in life, what you really want, what you need from someone to keep you at your best. And, but at the same time, like push you to grow better, it becomes like a needle in a haystack. Right. So you're looking for all these traits in someone and it's not to the point where you're not giving certain opportunities a chance to grow or whatever. Like him, there was a lot of things at first I was like, no, that's not what I want. Yeah. Based on just what I saw on the surface. But at the same time, when you know yourself well enough, I think it's easy to start to see like, how do I feel with somebody? For me, the most important thing is, and I know you totally get this, is just like being able to be like a little kid and be silly and stupid and laugh your ass off and just be able to sit at a room with someone and talk about anything for hours and, chat about everything and just have fun. And like, can you do life with this person? Can I still have these goals? Do we want the same things? Do we match up in our lifestyles? All of those things make such a big difference. And you can, you have wiggle room on certain things and other things you're like, this is a deal breaker. This is not. And so that being said, it was just like, for me, I just believe it's all a timing thing.
Yeah, because honestly, but were you at a point where you were just living life and it happened? Or did you go, and I talked to this one lady about it. She goes, you know what? I got to a point where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to ask the universe, like if somebody comes around, then I'm open to it. And she goes, and I think a day later she found the dude. So it's like, were you like to a point sometimes because I'm happy being single, but every now and then I go, man, it'd be kind of nice to come home and be like, hey, blah, 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 share your day. So was it a point where it'd be kind of nice to have somebody that gets me or I could talk to, and then all of a sudden, voila, he shows up?
No, I've wanted it for a really long time. Like, it's been a long time where I've been like, I'm waiting for like the person to show up
But you didn't settle. Settle.
Right. But at the same time, you're right. Like, I have my standards. I have the way I want to feel with someone, the way they make me feel. Can we communicate in a certain way? Like, are they emotionally available? I went through a series of men that were very emotionally unavailable. And then I had to do my own deep diving work and say, why do I keep attracting these emotionally unavailable guys? And there were things that I had to learn with myself from my childhood that came up that I had that surfaced this last summer that I was like, holy shit. Like, I didn't even know that was tucked away in there. And so it's reflecting.
Like what? If you can talk about it, or you want to talk about it, like what?
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned in the last podcast just about like my dad and like, a little bit, I had anxiety, OCD,
right.
ADD, depression, like Tourette's, all these things. And so for me, it was like, you know, he had a very hard time with that. And I was sort of rejected emotionally in certain ways. I was punished for things that I couldn't help or being who I truly was. And so I didn't have this issue so much in my last relationship, but it kind of came out later. It was like I was attracting emotionally unavailable guys, you know, as a childhood wound, you know? So it was like, it was like I was trying to prove myself to these people who are never going to be available.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, yeah. So it was like, why do I keep attracting these guys who are unavailable? Because I'm trying to get something out of them, but I can't, you know, I'm trying to prove myself to certain people that aren't available. Like I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course I do. I mean, because honestly, I'm the guy you saying emotionally unavailable. I'm like, duh. I mean, at least I know I am. I know I'm emotionally unavailable. I mean, I know that, and I don't know if I'm ever going to change that. And that's the worst thing about it. Like, you'll get more out of me during this than if we were going out and you'd be like, so how do you feel about this? And I'd be like, well, you want to go to Norway again? I mean, honest, I'm just like emotionally unavailable. And I think I don't know if I'll always be that way. There's a wall I get to that I kind of refuse to, like refuse, but I just like, I haven't got over that wall. Like kind of like an officer and gentleman. You got to get over that wall, cigar. I just haven't gotten over that wall.
It depends on what you want. And like for me, I was like, I always wanted to find someone, but then like, why am I entertaining these guys that I know are not available to a certain extent? So it was realizing that, and then not putting your time and effort into that, and then just understanding what you want. And so for Angelo and I, like literally right off the bat, when we met, it was like, I was like, this is what I need for someone. I need somebody who understands certain traumas of their past, what they've been through, and has at least a certain understanding of what those things are, and is open, because I'm an extremely like deep person. I need depth from somebody, and I need someone who can like talk about that stuff. What are you looking for? What's important to you? It was like day one. This was the conversation that we had as like adults on a first date. I mean, he's 4 years younger than me. He's 32. So it was like, you know, and he'll say the same thing. Like he's never been in a relationship where he's been able to be as open with someone like this. You know, he's never been vulnerable, but it took us from the beginning, both being in a certain place, to make him feel comfortable, to bring something out of him that he's never had in his life before, and vice versa, for us to say, this is the foundation of a relationship that we're starting from day one.
But how long have you guys been going out?
4 months, not even.
Okay, so is it the newness of it that makes you feel this way now? Or like if I come back in a year later, you go, well, that was all. I mean, do you feel like this is the real you, or is it that newness where, like, you know, in the beginning you're like, like, you know, you got butterflies and you're just like, or do you feel like, okay, this is grounded in like, yeah, this person's hot, this person's deep, it's cool, and we're here? Or is it kind of an infatuation? Because you're both very attractive people, both of you. I mean, he's an attractive dude. I don't go that way, but if I did, he'd be one of those dudes. But I don't go that way. So, and it's weird you mentioned vulnerability, and it's weird because I saw that picture, you guys, and you're standing, I think it's after your client's competition, and you're hugging and you give him a kiss, and I don't know why, but I always looked at you, and I still do, as like a person that's a strong person mentally and physically. And to see you have that little kiss, that just shows your vulnerability. And that picture may have touched me more than all of your pictures. There's something about you that to me shows you're opening up in a different way. And I was like, wow. That made me go, wow, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I like for the last maybe 2 years now study a lot. I watch a lot of relationship podcasts. I study a lot of the masculine, feminine stuff. I mean, it takes a lot of like understanding of relationship dynamics. And a lot of it comes down to what your morals and values are. Like you could have someone with different morals and values that might align with you better. But like, I have a lot of like, you know, alpha female in me with business and all these things, but like, I don't want to be that with somebody in a relationship. Like I want to be able to be the woman and be feminine and bring out that vulnerability with someone. So for me, it takes somebody who I feel like has a certain amount of strength to bring that out, but like being vulnerable with someone from the beginning. And I've been kind of the opposite with like, from the beginning have been the one like, whoa, we need to like slow this down.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I was like, I couldn't like eat or sleep like at all when we were, and I was just like this, like, I don't even like you that much. Like, I don't understand why like this is happening. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I was messed up.
So you put guard up? You put your guard up?
So like mind was like, my body was like feeling it before, like my mind was like allowing me to. So like for me, I've been the one that's like, I'm not ready. He's the one who's like, all right, well, like, I know what I want. So like, you let me know when you're ready. So it's like, I've been the one who's like, I need time to like process and make sure that this is whatever, because I do feel like, you know, there were important conversations that were never had in my last relationship from the beginning. And so for me, I'm like, I don't want to be blind by just the connection or the physicalness or whatever else is here. Like, I want to make sure that this is what I'm seeing is how I'm actually feeling, and that longevity is at the root of what we have here, because I don't want to waste time. Like, I don't want to, whatever. I don't need to know that I want to marry you right now, but I need to know like there's a point in us being together and the end goal is the same for both of us. And unless I can see this, and this in a relationship, like there's no need to go any further. So I've been the one that's kind of like, okay, I kind of feel some type of way, but like, I need time for this to process and I need whatever. Like, I've been the one who's kind of like
analytical,
lower and analyze it and make sure that I feel a certain way first. But we just had this talk last night. It's like, you'll never have to worry that I'm just doing it because I'm afraid to tell you whatever, because I take the time in every step to make sure that this is how I feel.
Right.
Communicate it. And no, I'm not just going to say something because it feels awkward to like go against what you want, you know?
I love that, man. It's kind of cool because I'm hearing you, but I'm also on a different level. I'm going, okay, like I hear you talking and I believe you, but there's also that thing. I've been in enough relationships where I'm seeing the underneath it. So have you guys talked about maybe the L word yet or whatever, or has that come up?
Yeah, just very recently. Yeah, there were some words exchanged.
Well, now was it like on a level like you're at breakfast or whatever and you're eating your protein and go, oh, by the way, or was it during the heat of, or you know, maybe you're laying in bed watching whatever and you go, oh, by the way, I mean, how was it? And or am I getting too invasive?
Like, random like adult conversation about it. Actually, it wasn't like he just said it and I responded back, but like, for a while he'd be like, I kind of love you. And I'm like, you kind of love me. Like, I'm like, I'm not responding to that. You know, like, I don't know how you want me to like, you know, and it was like his way of like seeing if I felt the same way or if I would like say it first so that whatever. And I'm just like, I know how you feel. So like, I don't understand why you don't just say it. But there's a part of me that's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like saying like loving someone and being like in love are different feelings. So yes. I can love you. Like, I love my friends. I can love whatever. But then I think the next step is like being in love where you've been through a certain amount of things and it grows over time and whatever. So it's like, yeah. So we had this is like the conversation we had. And I was like, I'm kind of sick of you saying like, you kind of love me. I was like, I don't really know how you expect me to respond to that anymore. And so we had this conversation and I was like, so it was just like, well, yeah, I mean, I love you. Like, I think I'm not in love with you at this point because, you know, we've only been through so much and needs to grow over time as we go through more experiences and make sure that we're the right fit for each other and whatever. But yeah, so we had this conversation both that we loved each other. And that's, you know,
I love that. You know, I always say, I gotta see you I got to make you about as mad as I think I can make you. And how you respond to that makes me go, okay, I can deal with this. Because I know me and I know eventually you're going to get to the point. I'm like, okay, is she going to throw a shoe at me? Or is she going to be like, you know, is she going to curse at me? Or she's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to respond here in about 5 minutes. Then I'll know if it can go. I mean, I got to see you at your mad. Because anybody.
Oh, and we've had some like very heated discussion where, I mean, we're both very like headstrong, like passionate people.
No, you? So,
I mean, and I think when, especially for him, you know, or both of us, where you're experiencing something on a different level as quickly as it has. I mean, there's a lot of vulnerability and emotion. So I think things can jump to that level quicker where, you know, you're afraid in the moment or someone says something and it brings up, you know, there's been things from my past relationships that have come up through talks and it triggered me in a way I didn't realize. And then it's about communicating that later when you have time to step back and like analyze it and be like, you know, I'm sorry, like I didn't realize, you know, whatever the case is. So but at the end of the day, it's being able to communicate about that stuff with somebody. And we do that well, maybe not in the moment itself, but we can step back and come back together and have a talk about it. And we talk things through and make sure we're both good before we can move on.
I think it's beautiful what you go through. And I was going to ask you, like, are you afraid of putting that on your thing? So, because I like to read the comments. And so the first time that he was revealed, I think somebody said, hey, is that your boyfriend? I was like, oh boy, here we go. And sometimes I wonder, like, did you have a hesitancy? Like, because sometimes no matter how progressive we think we are in society, especially I think of all the Midwestern cities, I think Minneapolis is was perceived, at least in my book, was the tops as far as progressiveness. And then, all hell broke loose a couple years ago. Blah, blah, blah. But so that being said, though, were you hesitant because of that? Because he is, African-American, or I know he's mixed. I think he's Puerto Rican, or what is he?
No, I mean, he's African-American.
Okay, yeah. So now, was there a hesitancy for you to have the world look at it, or were you like worried, like, oh, some of my followers, I might lose followers? Because sometimes, you don't know until it happens. You go, wow, I didn't know that person thought that way. So was there a hesitancy? And have you guys talked about, like, have you been somewhere and a situation comes up where you hear somebody say something and you have to let it go or whatever, and maybe it triggers something, and who knows? And this is just being for real. Like, what happens if maybe you get pulled over and there's a cop or whatever? I mean, because that's a real thing, I mean, that's happened to me before. That's why I asked. So was there a hesitancy on you on that point?
No, like he was worried how I would feel. I mean, I've never once ever posted a guy on my Instagram. I've had Instagram since 2013. I didn't get it until after I was out of my last relationship. So like I said, it's been 9 years, and even guys that I've dated for short periods of time, I'm not somebody who posts my personal dating life on social media until
Trust me, I know. I follow you. Trust me.
Yeah. And I told him, because he's like, you've never posted someone? I'm like, no. And I'm like, but I will if it's something significant in my life, because I feel like that shows other people who I am. And I want to tell my story too, because I've been through a lot to get to this point of like being in a relationship again. And so I enjoy people seeing that. And I really don't care what other people think, honestly. Like, I'm sure there's people who feel some type of way about it. Like, I really don't care. I mean, I've dated other races. To me, it makes no difference. And I understand that there's scenarios that could come up, or the realness of like the severity of it. We've talked about it with our future and things that could come up. I'm learning a lot too. I think we're learning together. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, everyone thinks he's a pro athlete. They asked him like who he plays for the Vikings, or, I mean, so I think people look at us like we're some like significant someone when we're out. And I think, I mean, this could just be like my own whatever, but I think if you're a pro athlete, you can date whoever you want, and people just think it's because you're a big deal and you can just date whoever you want. Right. But if you're Joe Schmo off the street and you're an interracial couple, you're viewed very differently.
Yeah, I mean, like if you were out with me, whatever, they probably say, well, he's a supermodel and she's a supermodel, so they look good together. Where he's, out with you and they think he's a pro athlete, which I would think too. So, I mean, regardless of the fact, you're both two good-looking people, and I'm glad you guys are together. And it's good to see you kind of, like I said, it's good to see your vulnerability out there and still doing your thing. I think that's beautiful. And also, you mentioned this, and I wanted to get to this before we get out of here, is that you have some unrelated to fitness business ventures that you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things is I've just been like collaborating with a lot of clinics and places around here. Like there's an Edina Plastic Surgery Center. They're like the largest surgery center in the state. So I've been collaborating with them. So they're referring patients directly to me that, need to lose weight or get healthy to a certain extent before they qualify for certain things. A few chiropractor businesses and some different therapy centers that want someone they can work directly with for their patients. So I've been kind of developing some of those relationships, but then I just got involved as a founding member in a business called GoV. And
GoV, is it Govee?
GOVVI.
VVI?
GOVVI, GoV.
Okay. So it's GoVV.
It's for gas. So it is one product, and it basically just, I mean, when you fill up your fuel tank, you're burning probably 80% of the fuel that you're putting there. The rest of it is emissions that goes off into the environment. So GoV is basically a gas tab that goes into your gas tank when you fill up. it allows you to burn 99% of the fuel that you're using. So you're actually saving money on gas. And like for me, I drive a Mercedes C300 and I have to use a 91 octane or higher. But with these tabs, it brings you up 5 points. So I can fill up with an 87, throw one of those in there, and I'm saving $15 or $20 right off the bat with these tabs. And then you're burning more fuel. You're getting 8 or 9 more gallons per mile just because you're burning more of the fuel that you're putting in there. So
that's great. Good for you. Great for you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, it is an MLM. I've never been into those markets or businesses before just because of the negativity that is surrounding them. But I have a friend that is kind of higher up in the business and I got involved in it and it's like doing amazing. So yeah, I get a shipment every month and just save money on gas. It's just one product. So
now, even though like fitness bought you this, do you see yourself kind of eventually kind of phasing out maybe even starting a fitness company with trainers and you kind of phase out of this? Because it seems like to me, you're about to be a business mogul. I mean, honestly, it seems like because you're using everything, which you should, you're using everything that you have, your looks, your physique, you're on Here With Me. So that's going to bring you, I don't know how much money. So like, do you see yourself eventually like maybe phasing out or like I said, changing and maybe having people under you and you going into other businesses unrelated to fitness?
I don't know. Like I've always wanted to do a lot more speaking, which is why I like doing the podcast. I like to talk. I feel like it's easy for people to understand what I'm saying and feel more of what's coming from me. So I like to get into more speaking on like a higher level, doing more of that kind of stuff. Angela and I have talked about doing some fitness related stuff together and, making some different videos and reels and kind of getting into that side of things. But, I don't know. I've always been very open to where things take me. It would be really weird to be outside of at least like the mental health and health industry.
Yeah.
But whether it would be more of the, spiritual, mental, whatever side with speaking or the health related side, because I think all of it is so encompassing. And that's always something that I've preached. I really don't think you can have one without the other. So anything that I can get into that allows me to like speak on that platform or like get into that platform or just get my, message out to the world or, teach people something that they may not think of in a different way, I would, be involved with it. So I guess I don't know where that'll eventually take me, but I like having different avenues of different things and, just doing a little bit of everything. I don't like the monotony of, this one track.
Yeah. Well, I personally see that with you. Like I think fitness is always going to be there, obviously. Yeah. But I see you eventually kind of phasing out and like I think you'd be a tremendous motivational speaker and telling your story because I think girls should look up to somebody like you because it's like that's what they need. They need a strong person, a strong female, an attractive female to tell them, hey, you know what, I've been there, whatever, or, take this track or open your mind up to it. You know what I mean? I think you would be tremendous at that. I think people would, first of all, you would be stunning because you walk through the door like, oh my God, who's this? You're 6'2", so you would grab their attention. So, the minute you walk through the door, all eyes on you, and then you deliver the goods.
Yeah. I love to do that kind of stuff.
You'd be great at that.
Earlier with, seeing my vulnerability and stuff or whatever. Social media is interesting because it's like, I have a business and this is my business and I'm running. So I'm preaching certain things, but it's like, there's always a side of people that you don't get to see on there, which is what I think this relationship shows people is, I know I come off as this intimidating, straightforward. I can be sort of mysterious in a certain way, but like, that's not really who I am. Like the people that are closer to me or, the people in my personal relationships know that I'm actually this like super nerdy, like weird, trick kind of person that but it's like, that's not what everyone gets to see. So being able to have people see more of that is like fun for me because people are surprised by it. Like, I don't know if people knew that I, dated even, or that I dated black guys or that I dated white guys, or they don't even know, they know nothing about that side of me. So maybe it surprised people. Maybe it didn't. I don't really know, but I think there's a lot of things that people don't know about me that will continue to surprise them,
Well, it's that mysteriousness that sometimes you should keep a little bit of that because that makes people more intrigued. Like, what is she really like? You're like, really? Would you like to know? Maybe an OnlyFans, but the good kind. Maybe a good kind of OnlyFans, not that kind, but the good kind where you let your guard down, but not like that. But maybe an OnlyFans, maybe.
It's like an OnlyFans, but like, what is it like a Disney rating, like a G-rated OnlyFans.
Yeah, like a G-rated OnlyFans. Like, okay, what's she really like? And you have you do like a monologue or something. it's actually you doing a motivational speech, but you're like in a bikini. So they get the best of both worlds. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that was good. And like every week it's something like that. The guys like, all right, here we go, and it's just you doing something positive, but like you're working out while you're saying it. Like you're going, you could be anything you want to be, and life is about. But you're working out, but you're like in a bikini. You're like, you know what? Yeah, I guess I'll keep tuning in. I mean, it's got to be something like that where it's like, it's not that dirty, but it's like, ugh. It's like, okay.
It's like the guy that does all the crazy fitness stuff that kind of went viral. Like he's putting like a bench like hanging from his belt, like doing pull-ups.
Yeah, I can't watch that shit. I mean, I really don't. I'm like, I'm done. I mean, there's only so much I'll watch where I go, okay, this is just crazy. You try to go into any gym in America and you rig that shit up and you're doing a pull-up with a bench press around your waist. Somebody go, hey, you need to get down and get the hell out of here. I mean, seriously, no gym in America is going to let you come in and do some shit like that. And by the way, I want to ask you before it slipped my mind, whatever, is there ever going to be a book coming out maybe? Maybe you could tease a book. I think people would like to really know that, especially where you're at now and with your fan base. I mean, you're getting a lot of fans, whatever, and I saw the comments, whatever. I'm telling you, maybe a book or something about fitness and about life because you practice what you preach, which is what I love. I mean, honestly, if you follow her Instagram, you'll see that she practices what she preaches. So maybe a book, maybe in the near future.
I've always like wanted to do that, but I need like a ghostwriter or something. Like I'm so overwhelmed by like putting something together and putting all, I would need someone to be like, all right, these are the things you need to write down in this order. And this is whatever. But I mean, I think that's why I like speaking. Because once you ask me questions, I get going. I can just be like, blah, 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 blah.
Trust me, I know. Trust me. But it's a good though. But that's why I have you because I knew something was gonna. I'm trying to chisel and see what's beneath the surface. That's why I love that you had a relationship. Like, oh, I got to ask her this. I got to see now. The chisel, the hard exterior, and it's like you said, you got a little teddy bear. But here's something that I didn't see from you that you mentioned, and I want to. You say you're kind of a hippie, and I'm like a hippie in what way? Because I remember.
What does my sister call me? Like. She calls me crunchy, but it's just like, what would I always say? Like semi-crunchy, like not crunchy on the surface, but like crunchy on the inside. Maybe like
what's that mean? What
kind of can't be on the inside, but like, I don't know, like I get into, like I have, Angela makes fun of me, but I have like crystals and like, I study like Eastern astrology and numerology. And like, I have apps that I follow and every day I watch like YouTube videos for some of the transits and I burn sage and I have, I'm very like up on what kind of like, stuff I use at my place and what I clean with. And, so I got like sort of that side and I kind of went through like an extreme hippie phase back when I was like healing from stuff. Cause I just really thought that every little thing was, I was kind of in like a hypochondriac hippie phase where I just really and then you kind of learn to balance with it. Like, oh, I really like these aspects of being, living this sort of lifestyle. And I really like these things. And then you kind of figure out whatever. So that's why I say hippie, but it's kind of like, uncontemporary hippie, maybe.
Okay. So you weren't like hippie, like no deodorant hippie. You were like, well, I'm just asking. I mean, cause honestly, I'm kind of like that. Like I'll go put it this way. If I run out of deodorant, I don't make it a point to go get some unless I'm actually out and I go, oh yeah. I mean, if I don't have deodorant for like a week, I don't freak out. I just go, well, I mean, I really do. That's what kind of hippie I am. I'm like, and I believe in the crystals. And when I go to sleep at night, I play my YouTube videos of manifesting dreams, whatever. And I have it playing when I'm sleeping. So it's seeping in, through osmosis. And honestly, I believe in that. Whenever I have the house to myself, I play that all through the day. And I just believe having a good aura in your house and everything. I just think it improves everything. So that's why, I love having you on because you got that little bitty hippie of in you. that. Now, I wanted to find that out about you also. Yeah. And before we get out of here, I know I got to run by, but I want to know, like, have you read the book, The Project 369? That's my new thing.
I have not.
I'll show you a picture of it and text it to you when we get off here. But that book has helped me big time. It's called Project 369. It's based off by Nikola Tesla, and it really has done miracles in my life. And I think you'd like it. It has a manifest journal that I got. I just recently got that also, and so. Man, I'm seeing some miracles in my life, and I think you'd like it, especially how you're living your life and us being like this, and I think you would like it.
I love the law of attraction stuff. I watch a lot of those videos, Abraham Hicks or like Neville Goddard, like all that stuff. I love, and I mean, you learn a balance with some of the because there's a point where you're overthinking and then you're pushing instead of allowing. So I mean, there's a point where you read it and you listen to it, you integrate it, but you can't almost focus on it too much because then it's like a resistance thing,
I know now, like, don't say want or need, and you gotta say I am or, whatever. And then sometimes the hardest part, at least for me, how it's worked for me, the hardest part is letting stuff go, but having belief that it's going to come to you. And that's the hard. Sometimes you hang on to something so hard, like, I want this. And it's not coming. And it's so frustrating. And I've learned through the hard way that you let it go. And it comes to you like, wow, it does work. But all the stuff like that has happened is when I've let it go and basically let it go to the universe, because the universe hears everything. And even though it might not look like it's working, it does. And I think I think I was going, man, what am I going to do? And I just remembered you. And I think we connected, and it's like, boom, yes, have her on again. It was something like that, and I'm reconnected with you. So I'm a firm believer in that. And that's why, honestly, because I love your energy, and I just love everything about your site. Like I said, you practice what you preach, and that is what I love from you. And I love seeing your growth. Not that you weren't growing before, but now seeing that vulnerability and that picture of you kissing your man. God damn, that hit me in a different way than what you know. And I go, man, good for her. And it just touched me in a different way, and it just shows your growth. And I think that's beautiful. So I know we got to wrap it up here. So is there anything else you want to tell anybody what you got coming out or what's coming up or anything?
Gosh, I don't think so. I feel like we covered a lot today.
I do too, honestly. I really do. I was looking, okay, what are we going to do different? But it's like, there's always something different in your life, but it's good.
It was good. I'm glad. I mean, I feel like every time I do a podcast, it's like hormones and whatever. So it's fun to be able to talk about other things that, are in my,
well, that's what I do. I try to bring it out of you,
Yeah.
I mean, even though my heart was broke watching you with him, I'm happy you're in good hands, Hey, but don't tell him I said that. Last thing I need is him knocking on my door. I don't want it.
Because when I post this, he's definitely not going to watch it.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'll be the secret. I'll be your only fan. I'll be.
Right.
My God, Casie Lee. Matter of fact, I learned Lee from following his Instagram that your name is Casie Lee. I learned that.
Oh, yep.
See, because I was doing my research, I go, well, I got to find something new. And then so I watched his Instagram. I go, aha, Casie Lee Shepherd. I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So good for you. Casie Lee, thank you so much again for being my guest. And I mean, if you guys get a chance, follow her Instagram, which is
Casie Shepherd IFBB.
Trust me, it's going to be inspirational to you to work out, just to be a better person. Go to her website. Tell you, it's everything you think it is, and then some. Her life is wide open. You'll see it, and who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to be a better person, just like I have been. Casie, thank you so much. You're as beautiful as always. I'm glad your life is transforming the way it should be, and I wish you nothing but the best, girl.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, and thank you guys for watching Tales from a Gemini. I'm BT, and you know how I say about this time. You know the word. Peace.